Hey, what's up, guys? Chase here. I'm really excited because I just got a new airsoft replica about a week ago, and tomorrow I'm going to play with it for the first time. Um, I haven't kept this thing stock. I've done a lot to it already. I've done like one or two things to it already. But I've been looking for something like this for a long time as a primary that's an alternative to an M4 that's still really parts accessible, and also just something that's really unique. If you guys have been around the channel for a while, you know I like the unique stuff with the lever action, and I should have something with a shotgun build coming out very soon. But today I wanted to show you my new AR platform that I'm working with, and it is a CZ805 Bren. So I'm going to give you guys like a little view here. I don't have very good light in this room, so I have my monitor set to MS Paint with like the color hue that I was looking for. Anyhow, there you can see the traits. CZ805 Bren. So this is a Czech AR, and this is the A1 variant. So I'll just hold it in frame for now. But this is a Czech. Oop, knocked my camera out. This is a Czech AR. They're currently on like the third version of this now. This was the 805 was essentially the Mark I that the Czech military adopted in like 2010 or something like that. Anyhow, they're on the Bren 3 now. ASG made these in collaboration with King Arms a while ago. They fell out of production, I want to say, a little while before COVID, and nobody's had these in stock. I picked this one up on the used market for $280 shipped. So before shipping, probably like 240 bucks. Which for a replica that, based on the serial number here, I can only ascertain to be one of the very first of the batches. When I got this, it had no MOSFET in it. And so it was the original version with the Tamiya. Literally, I plugged it in, made sure everything worked. The first thing I did was I put a Aster V3 from my old MP5K. That thing blew up with the 13-to-1s in it. And that's why I ended up getting a shotgun. But I put that Aster in here, and it works fine. Because unlike the MP5, this one has a G36 style selector. So the thing about the MP5K that's weird is that it's like the same style where it goes safe semi-auto, which is what the G36 style is. For the V3 Asters, you can either program it AK style or G36 style, which is G36 is safe semi-auto, and the AK is auto or semi-auto safe, right? And the MP5K is the G36 but opposite. So it's the same safe semi-auto, it's just on the opposite, it's the opposite swing. And the Aster V3 had a really tough time picking that up. But it works perfectly in the Bren here. This is the gray version, the gunmetal gray, and again the A1. So it has the longer barrel, and I have the suppressor on here. I also took off the side rails. These are they're like cheese grater rails. This is a whole monolithic machined upper, and the rails on here are sharp. They did not do any. They didn't chamfer or fillet these edges at all. So these are all really sharp. And if you're wearing gloves, I suspect they'll tear them up. I 3D printed this grip and clear coated it, so that gives me a nice purchase on this here. Selector switch is ambidextrous, so if I switch it on this side, it'll do the other, and then if I do the other side, it does that. The way it works is unique because it has a brass axle with gear teeth on either side, and it actually seats under the trigger, or like inside the trigger, and that can make reassembling and disassembling this thing pretty difficult. It is a standard version 3 gearbox. I went inside there, just checked up all the seals, made sure everything was sealing nice and tight. But yeah, like I'm really impressed with the quality of this build. This is one of the sturdier airsoft replicas I've held. And you know, It feels really good in the hand. It's heavy. I'm used to running the SEMA Platinum SR25, so this kind of feels a little bit more nimble than that, I'll say, but not like, I don't know. It's still heavy. It's still a beefy boy, but I'm a beefy boy, so it makes sense. I guess with that being said, we'll start here and kind of go through the features of this and the lack of features that I'll say. And then I just want to get my thoughts out here with this before I play with this. And then I'll probably do another one of these immediately, or, you know, sometime after I play, see how it held up, see how it played, and see how it is after like the honeymoon period, you know? So I'm interested in running this. So I've been looking for this for a long time. I couldn't find anyone new, and I finally found one that fit my criteria on the used market. So first things first is I do have the suppressor on here. It is the 14 millimeter counterclockwise, and it has a really long thread on here, as you can see. Like, it's threaded for a really long way, and that's because it has this this guy here. I'm going to try to get the suppressor to disconnect from it a little bit. Okay, this collar is a tension collar, so you tension it, you turn both the collar and whatever your flash hider is or your muzzle device the opposite way, and it locks it on there. It essentially just friction fits them both on there. And there's a little tiny like silicone like collar on there too that kind of locks it in place. The barrel, I believe, is 370 millimeters. The stock barrel was, I believe, a brass 603. The previous owner of this put a Promi 603 stainless in it with for the quad friction or whatever it's called. I don't know that brand. That brand always tricks me. Before the quad friction or whatever it is. Anyway, it has the charging handle here, but spoiler alert, it doesn't really do anything. Like, it reveals the hop up, and that's about it. Like right here, it's your rotary hop up. So it's got a nice little plastic rotary hop up, and it holds its place pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it's been holding its, just in my plinking experience, it's been holding its place pretty well. Yeah, it's got this charging handle here is actually ambidextrous, so I can take it out and put it on the other side. I have no reason to do that. This front body pin here, it has a retaining spring on this side of it, and that essentially, once you take the back one out, which we'll get to, allows you to swing the front of the gearbox out, along with this magwell that is in theory modular. Again, these were rail segments. I just 3D printed some inserts that fit in here that are a little bit more comfortable, and they slim down the profile of the replica a lot. So that allows for a more comfortable, like, overhand grip for me. A lot of people were complaining about the ergonomics on this online. I saw about how far the travel was from the hand grip to the magazine release. I figured that wouldn't be a problem for me, and it's really not for me. I mean, I know I'm a big dude, so like I kind of like the big ergonomics on this, because on an M4 my fingers actually kind of cramped up on the mag release, so having this one be this far forward is actually nice. The reason it is this far forward is because this is designed originally for the CZ's proprietary magazine. And that feeds like an AK magazine. It's a center feed rather than a front feed. And so in here, in this adapter itself, or in this magwell, there's a redirector, a BB tunnel. And it goes from the front, and it just shoots it back to the center right about here, where it actually goes into the chamber. And I'm going to try to drop this down just a little bit without my camera falling. It's gonna fall. Anyway, in here, the BB actually, you can see my my Astra wire right there, but the BB actually feeds right back here, rather than like right back here. So you got to think where that is relative to the magwell here. So it's got to go back about an inch, and that gives it a lot of space to do that. The nozzle in here is also really long. I'm fairly confident that it's the same nozzle that's in the featherweight A&K 249, which is also definitely the same one that's in the A&K Masada. So I think they use that nozzle because it is a long boy. I think it's probably like about 30 millimeters, if I had to guess off the top of my head. The bolt release here, much like the bolt handle or the charging handle, doesn't really do anything, and it's attached to the magwell. To get the magwell off, you have to take out this pin, and then there's also another tiny pin right under the release there. You pop that out and this slides straight out. So if for some reason there's a jam in that mechanism that feeds the BB back, like your magazine seems to be feeding fine and the gun seems to be feeding fine, it might be the little adapter inside here. I don't know, but every mag I've tested with feeds fine as long as the timing is right. Based off of when I first put the Aster in, I had to change the timing around a little bit with, you know, the braking and the pre-cocking and stuff to make sure that it was A, responsive, and B, also reliably feeding, because if it sits in the wrong part of the cycle, it was liable to not feed or start to bind up. So I had to make that change, but not a big deal. I put my old EOTech zombie stopper on here. The reticle is that essentially. So it's just an old sight I've had since I was like, I keep bumping into my desk and knocking over my camera. It's this old sight I've had since I was like 15 years old. So anyway, much like the Masada, the grip is molded into the lower receiver, and as you can see, there's not much lower receiver to speak of here. The lower receiver itself is only at most, you know, where it's the lower receiver is maybe an inch, and then you have this giant behemoth of an upper receiver on here. The back of the motor grip here, this is actually, the scale here is actually kind of true to form in the real thing. The real CZ805, they required that it have modular, like back straps of the pistol grip, but they never ordered any different back straps. Anyway, you take this pin out here, and this back part sort of just slides straight off, and then you have quote-unquote access to your motor. You really get one pole that you're supposed to hook up, because your motor V3 rests in here. It's screwed in the bottom here, but once you pull it out this way, you kind of have to get the polarity here, whichever connector you have. I can't remember off the top of my head here. You need to have connected before you put it in, and then you can get that one right here, and also do some wire management in there. This also has pretty poor battery space, I'll admit. So the good thing is that the compartment is easily accessible. You just pop this pin here, it comes out pretty easily, and I say that and it's not going to come out. So I'm going to go into a wider lens here. So for this, you literally just, once that pin's out, this back piece comes out, and there's your battery compartment. And if any of you are having Vietnam flashbacks to AKs, this is why. So I've got the cable very deep in there, but your cable kind of barely comes out here. This is my V3 Aster again, so it's got a pretty short line, but it barely comes out. You do have a genuine, honest to goodness quick change spring in here. I would even argue that this is quicker than the QBS and the SEMA Platinum that I have, because you literally pull out one pin and there's your connector versus having to do the entire buffer tube. So negligible, but it's definitely there. But you have to use in this an AK stick type battery. So this is an 11-1. It is 1200 milliamp hours, and it has a Dean's connector. I think the Dean's is better for this, particularly because in this space you're not only limited by the length. So you can only, like, this is how thin we're talking, right? And you can only get this in one real orientation. It only likes one way. Because you can get a fatter stick type battery about to here, and then you run into the back of the bolt assembly here, this charging handle dust cover. You can tell this is ramshackle. Anyway, that whole thing in here, I can't tell if I can get you a good look, but it moves. So you would have no access to your hop up A, and B, it would indefinitely just jam inside there. It will not fit, I promise you. So you need to use this, but then this is really long, and you got to think that this right here, like as far back as the stock goes, is not real space, right? So you got to think that in this, if you have anything on this side of this little embossment, or I guess whatever this is right here, this feature, right? This feature on the body right here. If you have any wires past that, either your stock's not going to go on, or you're going to break a wire and you're going to short something out, and you're going to have a lot of fun with an improvised explosive. So you need to make sure the battery goes in, and then by the time it's in, right, that far, look at how far up forward you are. You're like right on the charging handle. And then you also have to negotiate with the actual connectors and the wires themselves. And as you can see, this has barely any wire, right? Like I'm trying to pull that out here. I'm really not working with much in there because I don't want any superfluous wires dangling around in there. But even with that, it is quite difficult to get the battery in there. But that's really my only complaint ergonomically with this, is that the battery, but you know, that was really no different than what it was on the P90. The P90 had a very similar system. So I'd like to think I'm already acclimated to this, because honestly, I do find this to be less clumsy than the MP5K's really clumsy battery compartment on top of it. That like, it destroyed one of my LiPo batteries. I had to get a new one because it shredded it. Anyway, back here, this stock is detachable from that plate in the back. So I don't know why you'd want to, but in theory, you can press down this button and the stock will slide off, but it's pretty stiff, and it should be, because it has no wobble. This piece is adjustable, but again, not really. The stock folds all the way in, 1, 2, 3, 4 position stock, just like that. When I got it, the button, or the lever here to change position, it wasn't pulling the pin out far enough, so I printed a little 3D printed collar in there that goes around it, and it just pulls it out enough. The stock, and really all the polymers, are really high quality. Stock does fold, and it holds itself to the side, you know, nicely. Like, it'll come loose a little bit, but it's not going to go anywhere. You can, if the stock is even in the 1 or 2 position, you can still actuate the trigger relatively comfortably, although it's a long barrel. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Once it's back in place, it's good. The stock itself has a little wobble, but the buffer tube is perfect. Yeah, I'm really excited to play with this. Like I said, I wanted to get my thoughts out here before I started. And I'd like to think that I had a pretty comprehensive coverage of this. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see. Let me know if there's any input you have. If you're an owner of one of these, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of it, and what you've done, and how you've worked around it, and how you worked with it. But again, I appreciate you all for watching. Hopefully look forward to more videos soon. I'll talk to you later. Bye.